Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is Dr. Aftab Ahmad. I'm serving as President of National Academy of Young Scientists Pakistan and a founder of Research and Innovation Club, and my email address is given for further correspondence. Today we are going to talk about a very important topic, and that is 20 reasons why startup fail. So in this whole lecture, we will describe what are the main reasons that the startup they fail, and in this case, I will also share my own experience. So if we talk about the introduction, then in this presentation, we actually, this is data from mainly from CB Insight website. The link of the website is given, and they also have given the description. So I have taken mainly the headings, and I will share my own experience in this regard and the experience that I have gained by joining different forums, meetings about the startups and entrepreneurship. So, what are the main reasons? And there are some differences actually. The startup failure in United States and in Singapore and in Pakistan. And so there could be some differences, and that are also highlight. And some are the things that are present in Pakistan that are missing in this present. So I will add up that things that these are also the challenges in Pakistan. And so that could be like there are different reasons. That could be the lack of funding, lack of good team, uh, lack of critical analysis of the market. So there could be many challenges that we have to discuss in this case, but we will focus on the major problems, major reasons of the failure, and how we can overcome these failures and can lead to success. It is worth mentioning here that mostly the startups, there could be like difference in the figures, but it's like in most of the countries, 85% startups they fail in the first 3 years. So that's a big number, and so there are a lot of chances of a failure, but people learn a lot of things from these failures, and then later on when they start something, they lead to success. So initially it is very important that if we know initially that these things can lead to failure, and we can overcome these failures at the very start, we can prepare ourselves, we can prepare the things, and this is how we can actually optimize the things and we can lead to success. So I will discuss the 20 reasons of the failures and how we can overcome these challenges. So let's start with the first. The first thing is no market need. There is a need, no need of that kind of stuff in the market. So first we have to analyze that is there is a need of something in the market. So if we are going to make something very novel at the time, might be it's a game, it's a video game, for example, and that could be a very different type of game. So that needs some special equipments and so on. So people might not prefer at the very start. So we have to check whether there is a need of that kind of stuff in the market or not. And so we have to prepare the things accordingly. In addition, there could be like if you are working on some vegetable, for example, you are making a novel combination and you are going just like I was in Japan and they were making some novel vegetables and foods. So if you are going to box something like that in Pakistan and it hasn't as the market need in Pakistan, so it can lead to a failure. So, but that could be your invention or that could be your innovation later on. But right now, because initially, if you are startup, you have very limited amount of money, mostly in most of the cases. So if you spend all the money at the very start, then that that doesn't lead to the success. So you have to manage the things very carefully. So first you have to check there is a need of the market, and you should work on those kind of things. For example, initially I'm going to, for example, my own company is working on the probiotics, for example. So probiotics, I have to check whether there is a need of probiotics in Pakistan. If there is a like I'm going to make the probiotics for the poultry sector in Pakistan, and in Pakistan poultry sector, there is a growing need of, there is a growing use of antibiotics. So I want to replace that. And if I start working on probiotics, and I have gone to some of the poultry farmers, and they say that it's expensive and it's very actually it's need a lot of modification to use these, and we are using antibiotics in the feed, and like we are getting very good results. So that could be a challenge to introduce that kind of stuff in the poultry sector specifically right now. So we have to check there is a market need of what kind of stuff we are going to introduce or not. So this is the first and important thing, is to check the market need. Then the other thing, the major reason of failure is ran out of cash. This is a very common problem in most of the startups, because in case of startups, you have very, as I mentioned, that you have a limited amount of cash in your hands, and you are going to work on something new. And for that you need an office, for that you need equipments and so on. So if you for example, you are going to start to produce something, and you spend most of the money on the equipments, then how you will run the need to buy the raw material, how will you do the marketing and other kind of stuff. So you could be ran out of. So for that you have to work very carefully to balance everything, that you have to buy the equipment, you have to buy the raw material, you have to pay the to your employees and so on. So this is also a big challenge in Pakistan, that most of the startup, they ran out of the cash. Initially, they might have a funding, like in Pakistan scenario, we talk about a startup. They usually start from like 100,000 rupees to a million rupees, and that is the start. So they divide the money in like first 2 years or 3 years plan, and then in first year they might run out of the cash, and then they don't have, they need more money uh, uh, to run the day-to-day activities and so on. So this could be a challenge that we have to overcome in Pakistan, to have a source of money. And for this, I usually give a tip that if you are working on something, it's good to work on something that give you return immediately. You are going to produce something, or if you start producing something that gives you some return after your startup. If you have produced, for example, you are going to work on animal feed, and you have produced a novel formula of the feed, and immediately you are selling that feed into the market, then you will get the return, and then you can make more investment. So it's very important that we should see that the amount we are spending, and we work on something that we can easily get the return. And this is often the tip that is also given to me at several meetings, that you should work on something that gives you the return right after your production, whatever you are going to produce. So the third point is not the right team. This is also a very common failure in Pakistan, that you don't have the right team. And if you don't have the right team, they have different opinions. Physicists, they think in a different way. Biologists thinks in a different way. Marketing people, they think in a different. Businessmen think in a different way. So if you will have a team that totally think in a different way, then there should be one leader who can lead and who can convince everybody that we should go in this direction. And if everybody is going in opposite directions and trying their own formulas, then often that lead to failure. I will give here an example of one of my colleagues. He's one of the he's in the feed industry. So I know him for the last 4 or 5 years, and their company is a great success. The reason is they have the right team. So for any business, you need a person who is good in the production, so he knows the formulas and everything. And you need a good person who is in the finances, so he could manage the finances. And the right combination could be a third person who is good in marketing. So I know that person who has the team from his own family. His father is a PhD in animal nutrition, so he's good in that. His brother is chartered accountant, so he knows the finances very well. And he himself has a degree from UK in marketing, so he's expert on marketing. So when he came back in Pakistan about 10 years ago, he started a feed company. And right now, his company is the second largest producer in Pakistan. So in a very short time, he could do a lot of work, and his success was like his father was giving the formulations, his brother was managing finances, and he himself doing the marketing. And they have a very meager start. And after the start, now they are the leading company in Pakistan. So this is how, if you have a right team, that can lead to the success. And if you don't have the right team, then it's very hard actually to lead the success. And then sometimes you get outcompeted. You are working on something, and then another giant came, and they are also working on the same thing, and then they produce and they launch into the market before you. For example, you are a startup who is working on cancer vaccines, and this vaccine is very effective, and you are a small company of like 6 or 7 people who is working in that particular area, and you are producing a cancer vaccine. And another company who is a giant in pharmaceutical industry, they launch the same, they are started working on the same vaccine. Then definitely a big team, a lot of finances, lot of marketing people, they can definitely, they will outcompete you. They can launch the product because they have the experience, they have the marketing team, they have the finances, they can launch you before you are going to launch into the market. So that could be another challenge, that you are outcompeted, and then it's very hard to launch into the market. Then pricing issues is another challenge. This is one of the challenges in Pakistan as well. And for simplicity, I will like to explain this in a way that you are going to start something and going to produce something. And you are, for example, you are, if we talk about the fish feed or the poultry feed, and you have started a startup who is working on the novel formulations, and then you for that you need 7 or 8 things as a raw material on which you are going to work, and you are producing something novel. So after that you find that your expenses are more, and you can't compete with the same feed into the market. So pricing could be an issue, that for example, your expenses are more than the product and you are going to launch. So in this case, that could be a challenge. So pricing, you have to think very carefully that the product you are going to launch, you have to compete into the market. So your expenses should be in a way that they should not be that much expensive, and that could compete the things into the market. So pricing issues could be a problem, and you have to check very carefully, and you have to check it again and again, especially the raw material and the product making process, and then the marketing issues and so on. And then you have to figure it out, the whole pricing issues, and then you can launch the things into the market. And then the other thing could be user unfriendly products. So you are going to launch something that is user unfriendly. For example, you are going to launch a new mobile phone, and that has a totally different software in it. For example, we are using the software from the Apple products, and we are using Android based software, we are using the Microsoft based software. And you have a novel idea, and you have made a new product of cellular service, and in which you have introduced your own software. That could be a novel, anything novel software other than the one which are in the market, and that is not user friendly. So it's actually very hard to work on your cell phone, and the software that you have developed is not very user friendly. Then it's very hard actually, because the cellular companies, they are very much the cell phone companies, they are very much saturated into the market, and you have introduced something that is not very user friendly. Then it's very hard actually to launch that product into the market. So that could be a challenge. Another solution for this could be you introduce something that is very simple. I know I was like having some discussion with one of the real-time PCR manufacturer in the United States a few days back, and they said that before this the real-time PCR is a very complicated thing, and you have to an expert who can run the real-time PCR. They have developed a product that is a very user friendly. So any person with a very limited knowledge, they can run the real-time PCR and can work on that. So it's very easy to use their product. So that can be easily penetrated into the market. So if you have produced something that is user friendly, then it's very easy to launch. That can compete with the things that are existing in the market. And if you are going to launch something that is not user friendly, then it's very hard to compete, and that can lead to the failure. Then the product without a business model. So it's very important, whatever you are going to develop, you should prepare a business model. What is your business model? How much you are expending on the raw material, on the employees, on your marketing, and so on, and what is your business model. So it's very important to develop everything in advance, then launching the product. So if you are not going to work on the business model and just randomly starting something, and you are going to launch, and ultimately you find that your product is not is super expensive. It's very hard to launch into the market. Your expenses are more. Their income is very short. So this is something that is without the business model. So it's very important that you should launch something with the business model. So you know you have done all the calculations well in advance, and then you are going to launch something into the market. So this is also very important that you should produce a product with a proper business model so you can launch it into the market. And then the other thing could be the poor marketing. Poor marketing is also a very common. So your whenever you are going to launch something into the market, your first impression is very important. If you are going to develop a first impression that is not good, then that can lead to failure. So it's very important that you should do a proper marketing. Proper marketing is very important. I can give you an example. One of the toothpaste that was launched in Pakistan, and it was like there were so many brands, but they have launched that brand, and their marketing line was, the English toothpaste. Uh, that was they have used that is the most cheaper one uh, that is being launched. So in Pakistan, normally the impression is something is very cheap, that is of not that good quality. So the English toothpaste is a big failure in Pakistani market, although it was quite cheap and it was supposed to be like it should replace the other brands into the market, but it couldn't. The reason was that the marketing strategy was that up to the level that they 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 claim that is the cheapest one, and they couldn't sustain in the market. So it's very important that you should do the proper marketing, and poor marketing that can also lead to failure. So you have to develop your first impression in a very good way. And if you could do the first impression is a good way, then that lead to the success. And sometimes we ignore the customers. For us, for example, if we have developed some formulations, that could be a thing that you think that you have made something that will revolutionize the whole country or the region or the world, but you ignore your customers who are going to use that. So it's very important whenever whatever you are going to develop, share it, your experiences with the customers, share the things with the customer, and get their feedback. This feedback is very, very important because that lead to your product that you can make it in a very good way. So if you are not going to make the product in a improve the product, then that can lead to a failure. So you are making something, for example, that could be a new cloth, and you are saying that in Pakistan is very actually is very hot, and what brand I have developed of the cloth, if you wear it, then you feel very good. Like the temperature will drop. It says the science behind is that if you wear this cloth, for example, the shirt you are wearing, then it let the body radiation to move out and don't let the radiation from the outside to get into your body. So what happens if you wear this shirt, then it will reduce the temperature to 3 or 4 degrees Celsius. So if outside temperature is, for example, 40 degrees Celsius, you feel inside 36. So it's amazing. But on the other side, it could be super expensive. So you have to, and other thing could be like if you have to have a see-through or something like that. So, and it could be a revolutionary thing, but if you ignore your customers who are going to buy your cloth, then that can lead to failure. So it's very important that you shouldn't ignore your customers and you should make the things according to the need of your customers. And then sometimes the product is mistyped. So if you have, for example, the example here, it's given that you are going to launch the lemonade. Lemonade is very common in Europe and United States. So if you are going to launch, there is a snowfall on the other side, and you are going to launch lemonade, that is the drink of the summer, then that could be a failure. So if it is winter time and you have launched a new brand of coffee or tea, that could be a good thing, and you can sell your products in a good number. But on the other hand, if you are going to launch something that is not according to the time, then that can lead to failure. So it's very important. You have to see. And for example, if you are going to launch something, if you are going to launch, you have made a jacket, for example, and that jacket is very good in the winter time, and you have launched your product initially in the summertime. Nobody is going to buy that and don't have a good experience of having that jacket. So it's very important that you should launch your product according to time. So you have to see that when I should launch this product. And sometimes we lose the focus. We are going to work on something, and this is a common problem in Pakistan. This is also a common problem for our research. For example, I have myself worked in a number of areas. I was initially working on cloning and expression of the proteins, and I was working on E. coli expression system. Then I switched to the yeast expression system, and then I switched to the stem cell field, and then tissue engineering, and so on. So we often lose the focus. That's a problem. Even if we develop the product, we should mature our product before we are switching to another thing that is seen to be very fascinating and should start working on that. So it's very important. We should work and mature our first thing, and then we should work on another thing that could be similar to that we are working initially. So we shouldn't lose the focus. And some of the companies which lead to failure is they lose the focus, and that can lead to the failure. So it's very important that we shouldn't lose the focus. That's another reason that lead to the failure. Another thing that is also common in our society, and that is the disharmony among the team. So we often, I have given an example at the very start that you have, it's very important that you have the right team. And then it's also very important that you should have the harmony among the team, that everybody is on the same page, then that can lead to the success. If somebody is thinking that I should launch the things in this way, another body is thinking that we should launch the thing on another way. I can give you an example. We are working on something, some product, and one team member thinks that we should go to the B2B strategy, that we should go from business to business, and we should launch to other businesses. We should give this formulation to other businesses. Another person in the team, he says that we should go B2C. We should go from business to the customers. We shouldn't go to from B2B. So everybody is thinking in that direction, and they are preparing, they are marketing, everything is working in totally in a different direction, and that can lead to the failure. So it's very important that there should be proper leader in your startup, and others should follow the lead, and they should let the person decide that if he has started something, he will have a better idea that we should go. They can have discussion. They can have discussion with the gurus of the field that this could be a challenge and we should go in that direction, or if we are facing this problem, what we should do. They can have a discussion, but ultimately they should decide that, and everybody should be on the same page, and then they should launch their product according to like a consensus they have to have. If somebody is thinking that way, another person is thinking another way, then often that leads to a failure. Then another thing is pivot gone bad. So you have to take a direction, and that direction is not working very well. I have, like in the previous example, you are thinking that B2B is not a good idea, B2C is a good idea, and then you focus yourself towards B2C, and then you think and realize that this is not a good move. We should have gone from B2B. Business to business is a good idea for our product. We shouldn't have moved to B2C, because B2C, we don't have a good marketing team. It's very good. It's very hard for us to penetrate into the market. So that's not a good thing to go to the market. So in this case, you should go for B2B, and you have gone from B2C. So this often happens for the startup. So you have to make that decision of moving the things in a way that shouldn't lead to a failure. Another thing is lack of passion. This is also a common problem, that we lose the passion. It's a very common thing in our society that we lose the passion. We start something. I have seen there are so many things that were started including the social entrepreneurship. I know so many forums because I was working in that area. I worked in Sci Forum, I worked in NAS, in Islamic World Young Scientists Academy, and many other forums. And when I started, there are several forums they started along with us. Like NAS, when we started NAS, there were several other forums they were started, but they lose the passion because you need the passion to drive the things, and they lose the passion, and then that lead to failure. And for the success, you have to put the passion. That's very important. Yeah, you keep the passion. Yeah, keep working with the passion. If you are going to work on something, some product or service, there should be a passion. Ultimately, you will get the reward for your efforts that you are going to make. So you shouldn't lose the passion. Often people lose the passion, and when and this is I've been to several lectures on the key to the success, and one of the things that I often ask the people that they should focus is persistence, passion. These are very important. You should persist. You should have a passion. If you have the passion, if you persist, then that lead to, a very famous example of Coca-Cola. When Coca-Cola was launched, there was, I think, less than 100 bottles were sold in the first year, but they were persistent. They showed to be persistent, and now you see they have a big market in the whole world. So this is how your persistence and your passion lead to the success. So it's very important that you shouldn't lose the success and keep working with the passion. And another things could be failed geographic expansion. You are a very good you have launched something in one area in one city, and it's a big success, and you are going to replicate the model in another city. And when you go to another city, that's not a good area actually. You got the purchase on the very next day that you are going to give this amount, otherwise they are going to destroy your business. So this is a common problem in Pakistan. So we also have to see that what area we are going to move. Is this area is notorious? Is this is a criminal area? Is that area is high in crime rate or something like that? So this is also very important to see. Like even in United States, there are some areas which are very notorious. So people afraid to move in those areas. Similarly, there are areas, there are some country. I've been to South Africa, for example. South Africa, I was in Johannesburg, and in the main cities, it's like business were growing. But we when just move out of the main areas, there are some other areas which were very terribly notorious, so you can't expand your business in those areas. So similar things are in Pakistan. So some areas they are pretty good for the business, but other areas they are not that good. So you have to check very carefully that when or where you are going to expand your business should be business friendly area. And then another thing is lack of money is I have discussed. No financing is another thing. You are supposed to get some financing from your colleagues or partners or from family or from the banks and so on, but ultimately you couldn't get it. You have started something and it can lead to a terrible failure if you are not getting the finances. Are very important. You should work on the finances at the very start, and if you are not going to work on the finances, then that can lead to a failure. So you have to work on the finances because this is a big thing that you have to, because your infrastructure, your offices, your equipments on the other side, salaries and everything is based on the financing and how you have managed the whole businesses and the finances. So this is also very important that you work on the finances very carefully in a proper way. And if you are not working on a proper way and you are supposed to get some finances and you are not getting those finances, then that can lead to failure. So you have to work very carefully, and you should keep a backup channel for your products and services. That uh, this is the area that you can get. For example, if you are going to get some money from a colleague and you are not going to get that, you should have a backup. You can have some another person whom you should talk that this could be a critical time for me and I need this much money to run my business or to start my business. so that you can get the money from another person. And sometimes the legal issues could be a big problem. You have made a product or service, and that is now legalized in Pakistan. I have seen a lot of challenges, especially in area of drones, drone cameras, and other drone-related services in Pakistan initially. So there were so many companies which are very eager to work in Pakistan about the drones and drone-related products and services, but they couldn't succeed only because of the legislative issues, because it was illegal and there was a long procedure to get the approval. In addition, if you are going to work on something, another issue could be like some drug you are going to make or some vaccine you are going to make. That could be a good idea to work on those vaccines or those drugs. But if they are not legalized and you are going to sell it, then that can lead to a trouble. So you should work on the legal issues very carefully. There is a need of, for every business, there is a need of proper documentation. So you should complete the documentation. You should get the proper approval, whatever products or services you are going to launch. And if you have the approval, then it's very easy to start your work. Otherwise, it's very hard. So wherever you are going to start your work, in whatever country or even in you are going to work in Pakistan, you should get that, because if you are very successful and you have some legal issues, then that could be a weak point for you. So you should work on the legal issues very carefully and should get all the documentation done, and then you should launch the product into the market. And another thing could be didn't use the network. So networks are very important. I often give this example in my lectures, that once I was in United States, and in one of the lecture, the speaker told that, and I agree with him, that 70% of your future success and the success in your business or in your job depends on your network. So networks are very important, and you should build your network. If you are in universities, for example, this is the right time for you to, I often say that one of the greatest thing the universities provide to you is the network. You have very good connections with the colleagues and with the friends and so on, and these network pay you back for the whole life. So you should work on your network, and whenever you are going to launch something, you can utilize your network in a proper way. For example, you are going to start some agri-related business, and you have a colleague who has a good experience or who can launch your product or service. If you use your network, that can be huge success for you. But if you are not going to launch, utilize that network for you, that can lead to a failure. So it's very important that you should use your network in a proper way. Burnout I think is in Pakistan is a common problem, that we burn out. Especially even in my case, I was going to start my startup, and then I was thinking to launch the product, and then I started the documentation work. And this documentation initially in Pakistan is like not many people knew about new products and things and services. So you start working and keep visiting the offices and so on, and ultimately you say, why I'm doing this, why I'm wasting my time, resources, and money. So you totally burn out and you just leave everything. And similarly, you face so many problems, you face so many challenges. But if you are persistent, if you are passionate, then that can lead to a success. If you burn out very quickly, because if you think that you are not going to face the challenges, this is not true thinking. You will face a lot of challenges whenever you are going to start something, some product or service. So it's very important that you keep good temperament. You should be persistent. You should have a passion, and that can lead to a success. So a burnout is a common problem in Pakistan, and you should prepare your mind whenever you are going to start your business. And then another thing could be the failure to pivot. So if there is some hurdle that is coming on your way, then you should know that how you have to change your direction, how you have to change. So there will be several obstacles that you are going to face. So one of the key ingredients, for example, if you are going to launch some product, and one of the key ingredients in Pakistan you are not going to get very easily, then that can lead to a failure. So you have to think that what alternative is there, what another direction I can go and can lead to a success. So it's very important that you should work on the alternative ways that can lead to a success. So some obstacles that we are facing in our lifetime are during our startups, they are a big hindrance, and we have to keep watching on those hindrances. And sometimes it's very hard to overcome those. You will waste a lot of energy, resources, and money to overcome that obstacle. So it's better not to face that, keep another direction and move in another direction rather, and put your energy, resources, money on another direction, and that can lead to success. So it's very important that we lead, we should weigh, we should have a vision how we have to. So these are the 20 reasons of failure, and I will add some more things in that. We should get the proper training. It's very important to have a very good discussions with the gurus, and if you will have the discussion with the gurus, they will give you a good move for your business, that now you can go in that direction, and that can lead to a success. So sometimes it's better to get the business training. That is very helpful. Another thing that is also important is, like, we immediately launch the product without the prior knowledge. And so it's also a very good tip that if you are going to launch a product, for example, some fertilizers, you should go into the market, have a good market analysis. What other products are there into the market? What is their price? What is their marketing strategy? So if you spend some time in that business, then you will have a very good idea of that, what are the gaps in that business and how you can overcome those gaps. So this is also very important. And if you will not have a good market analysis, then that can lead to a failure. So it's very important that you should also have a good market analysis. So this is part of our course on innovation and entrepreneurship, and the assignment for all of the participants is, you have to list down 5 challenges that you are facing or can face in your startup. So I will repeat it, that you have to work on, just like I have listed the 20 reasons or 20 challenges that can lead to failure. You have to work on 5 that you think you are facing or you can face if you start some of your product or service into the market. So you have to list down and you have to send it on uh, the email address given or on our WhatsApp numbers. So with this, thank you very much for your listening. I am very hopeful that with the lectures, starting from the very basic ideas about innovation and the very basic ideas about the entrepreneurship, some of the lectures on the leading technologies, some of the lectures that how you can work as a freelancer, how you can be your own boss, and what are the leading countries in innovation, what strategies they have adopted, and so on. So we have gone through all these lectures, and ultimately we are here with the startups, and what are the reasons that the startup fail, and how you can overcome these problems, and you can lead to a success. So these are things that are very important for starting some new business or some new idea. I'm very confident that you will have a very good knowledge now about the innovation, entrepreneurship, research, and innovation in research, and so on. So you will be able to work on your product, on your idea, on your service in a confident way. And we are looking forward to have your products and services or some ideas, very fascinating ideas, very soon. And we will work on those, and we will hopefully we will launch some tangible products and services after completing this 4 months course. Thank you very much for watching this lecture. If you have any question, you can inbox us or you can share your questions on our group, WhatsApp group, and we will happy to answer those.